public program producer here at the National Archives in Washington, D.C., and it's my pleasure to welcome you today to the William G. McGowan Theater for today's performance and discussion, Frederick Douglass, The Meaning of July 4th for the Negro. And a special welcome to those of you watching on the National Archives YouTube channel, as well as on C-SPAN.
The Declaration of Independence is more than the document that launched a nation. It is a statement of values that all men are created equal and endowed with unalienable rights. Yet, from the beginning, America struggled to live up to those words. Now, 250 years later, the fight against slavery remains one of the clearest examples of how the Declaration's promise challenged the nation to become better. By the mid-1800s, millions of Americans were still enslaved, living in a nation that claimed liberty as a founding principle. Abolitionists argued that Declaration was a moral standard the country must meet, and no voice captured this contradiction more powerfully than Frederick Douglass, a man who escaped slavery and held America accountable to its own founding words.
We had in Mr. Lincoln the nerve and decision of Oliver Cromwell. Interesting. But the result shows that we merely have a continuation of the Pierces and Buchanans, and that the Republican president bends the knee to slavery as readily as any of his infamous predecessors. Too tough, or, I mean...
No.
Okay.
Not at that moment, at least to Douglas.
He's also pretty brutal to Lincoln about the inaugural journey, as Lincoln, comes through Baltimore, his old hometown. He says now he knows what a fugitive slave feels like.
Yeah.
Douglass insisted that the Declaration's principles were universal and that the nation had a duty to enforce them. By 1860, the debate over human equality had reached a breaking point, pushing the United States towards a civil war.
Level of Confederate society that clearly sees itself as party to and involved in this conflict. By 1862, there were encampments of fugitive slaves, refugee slaves, all along the Mississippi River, wherever the Union Army was, and also along some other rivers, also at rail junctions like Corinth. What did these slaves do when they got there? Some of them built fortifications that allowed the Union Army to hold places like Nashville. Nashville goes to the Union Army quite early, but taking a city and keeping a city are two different things. How does the Union hold on to Nashville? Partly by building something called Fort Negley. Who builds Fort Negley? Slaves who have run to the Union Army.
Abraham Lincoln believed the Declaration of Independence was the nation's apple of gold, the moral foundation that defined the purpose of the Constitution itself. Throughout the war, he returned to the Declaration again and again, arguing that the Union must survive so that the promise of equality could expand to all Americans.
But the bill goes nowhere, and Lincoln doesn't press on it. So he's opposed to slavery. He's anti-slavery. He's just not what you might call an activist on the subject. That is, until 1854. The reason he's not an activist on the subject is because before 1854, he is convinced that slavery is a dying system which is on its own way out.
By the end of the Civil War, the nation finally took a permanent step toward fulfilling the Declaration's vision. In 1865, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery nationwide, the first major constitutional transformation inspired directly by the Declaration's claim of equality.
Nevertheless, the political climate and public sentiment encouraged support for an amendment as casualties mounted. Northerners became convinced that the divisiveness caused by slavery's continued presence anywhere in the country was too great a cost to bear. Swayed by the argument that irrevocable universal emancipation was the only solution to preserving the Union and ridding the nation of the potential for such future disagreements, Northern residents sent petitions to Congress calling for action.
And now, 250 years later, the Declaration of Independence continues to shape America's story. Its words challenged a nation that tolerated slavery to become a nation that ended it, and today they continue to challenge each of us to pursue equality, not as a finished achievement, but as an ongoing responsibility. Thank you for watching. My name is Caden Sanders. Have a great day.